Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for yet another event in our community college webinar series. We're really glad that y'all have been able to make the time every Tuesday to come and learn more about transferring to Berkeley Engineering. My name is Nicole Mcintyre, and I'm the manager of Transfer Success Initiatives for the UC Berkeley College of Engineering. And today we're really excited to have a panel of current transfer students. The session will be captioned. It's being live captioned now, so you can access that by hitting the closed captioning, the CC button at the bottom of your screen at any time. And the event is also being recorded, so you will be able to access the recording in a few days. And you can also register for future presentations at engineering.berkeley.edu/CC. Before we get started, I want to remind you of some upcoming webinars. On Thursday of this week, we'll be discussing how to find research as a community college student and why you might want to find research opportunities. And we'll also be discussing the Transfer to Excellence program, which is a really exciting way to get paid to spend your summer at UC Berkeley. Next week, we will have some presentations that are specific to majors within the College of Engineering. So on Monday, we'll have material science and engineering. On Wednesday, nuclear engineering. On Thursday, engineering science. And again, later on Thursday, civil and environmental engineering. So you are welcome to attend as many of those as you want to learn more about those majors. Maybe you might want to change your major. So today is a student panel. You can ask questions to the panelists through the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We will not be using the chat, but just Q&A. And if someone asks a question that you also want to know the answer to, you can upvote it using the little thumbs up sign. And if your question is very specific to you, I would encourage you to instead email me because we will not be able to answer specific advising questions in the webinar. So without any further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Tiffany Reardon. Tiffany serves as the Associate Director of Engineering Excellence Programs here at Berkeley, and she is a fierce advocate of transfer students. She's created a lot of programming in the college to support transfer students, including the T-Prep summer kind of boot camp, and a class called Transfer Link that we teach together. She also used to work for MESA, so shout out to our MESA folks on the call. And Tiffany will be moderating today's student panel, and we'll introduce our panelists. So with that, I will hand it over to you, Tiffany. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. And I just want to say how excited I am to see these amazing students. And funny enough, it is National Student Transfer Week. So October 19th to 23rd is National Student Transfer Week. But here at Berkeley, every week is Transfer Week. So we want you to know that. And typically when we're on campus, you know, we have these types of events in person. But now that we're in a remote setting, we still, you know, really want you to know that we want you at Berkeley, and we want to show you the amazing experiences and amazing students that we have here on today's panel. You're going to love meeting these folks. We have, in no particular order, the only order is basically the Zoom order. So we'll start off with Anna Farrell. Anna is a civil engineering student from San Diego Mesa College. And I believe she's in San Diego right now, correct? Okay. And then we have Nia Domkum. Nia is a bioengineer from San Joaquin Delta College, and he's at Berkeley, correct? Very cool. We have Stephen Salah Adine. Stephen is a mechanical engineer from College of the Canyons in Santa Clarita. Big boost in Santa Clarita folks last year. Hopefully we'll see more. He is a mechanical engineer, and he's actually doing a concentration in aerospace, which is really cool because we just started that concentration. So very excited. This is first semester at Cal. last but definitely not least, we have Sebastian Reyes. Sebastian is an EECS major and he is from Santa Barbara City College. Please join me in welcoming our panelists. Questions that you have, feel free to put them in the Q&A, and then we will answer your questions that you have. But we'll get started, and I'll just kind of ask a question that I'll have all of you answer. And the first question, again, all of you will answer. What made you decide to come to UC Berkeley and pursue a degree in engineering?
Ladies first, I guess.
Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting to get accepted into UC Berkeley. I was really having my hopes set on UC San Diego. And so when I got the acceptance letter to UC Berkeley, I really had to consider that. And ultimately, I really want to work abroad. And I just knew that UC Berkeley was going to be able to provide a better opportunity for me to do that work versus UC San Diego. I'm also civil, and UC San Diego only does structural. So that's another reason why I decided to do Berkeley.
So I could go next. Usually a lot of people hate me for my answer, well, faculty anyways. But the main reason why I decided to go to Berkeley was because of the price. Believe it or not, I've been through so many different years of schooling that was a money issue. And whatever I decided whenever I transfer, I didn't want money to be the issue. And believe it or not, you know, there's actually a lot of opportunities at Berkeley where you can actually pay your way through scholarships. And that's sort of kind of what I did, just really grinding every opportunity, every scholarship, wherever there's money involved, I'm usually the first one to sign up. So I guess if you guys are worried about money as being like your main, which was my main factor, just know that if you apply yourself, Berkeley will take care of you.
I guess I could go next. So the main reason why I transferred to UC Berkeley is actually a good story. Initially, I was applying to universities and as an aerospace engineering major. And in regards to that, one of the universities I got accepted to, it's known as Georgia Tech. It's #2 best aerospace engineering school in the nation. And in regards to that, I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, so I got admitted to UC Berkeley for mechanical, and I got admitted to Georgia Tech for aerospace. And what was a deciding factor was I found out that UC Berkeley offers a concentration in aerospace, which is beautiful because then it won't limit my job opportunities in the future, because aerospace is very structured to work for specific companies, right? Mechanical engineering, I could decide to work for numerous amounts of companies. So in regards to my decision there, what was a driving factor was LinkedIn. Once I got admitted to UC Berkeley and I'd done my research, I connected with numerous amounts of alumni from Georgia Tech that are at UC Berkeley pursuing a PhD, and they told me the difference in academic inclination, what Georgia Tech offers, what UC Berkeley offers. And then I noticed that what was the main driving factor was I live in California, right? And out-of-state tuition is definitely huge. And I noticed that mechanical engineering is a much more better route for me because of the diversity. I could go work for Tesla, or I could work for SpaceX. I could work for General Motors. I could work for any type of company that has a mechanical engineering design aspect, instead of it being structured to aerospace. And that was a huge driving factor. And plus, a lot of transfer students that I know are here at Berkeley. So I have friends. And having friends is a really big thing once you transfer.
I think for me, like Anna, I didn't particularly seek out Berkeley. I mostly just focused on my studies, and I knew what I wanted to do. I needed to do something in computer science. And then after being at CC for like 4 years, I applied to just every UC, and I happened to get into Berkeley without, doing all of the, I guess, background research. And then after that, after I saw what I got into, I looked at, okay, what are the differences? And particularly for EECS, which is electrical engineering and computer sciences. For this major, Berkeley's like among the top 10 worldwide, I believe, or 20, not sure exactly. And just the area. I could have gone to Santa Barbara, UC Santa Barbara. That was like an easy choice. And a lot of my classes could have transferred. I wouldn't have to like retake them or retake GEs. But Berkeley, just being in the Bay Area in particular, there's just a lot more opportunities for my major and a lot more opportunities to like meet people who, could help later. So I think that was one of the big, I guess, the determining factors. Like for my major in particular, Berkeley seems to be way up there, and the location, the area.
So we have a question in regards to programming. So since a lot of schools, their programming classes, for example, perhaps the equivalent to 61A would not transfer, and students would have to take a CS class at Berkeley. Sebastian, from your experience, what was that like? Did you feel like you had to play catch up?
There are options to do bridge courses. So if you took up a good data structures course, I know people that took like a 1-unit bridge course, which was like just a project. There wasn't even a final. And for them, that worked out for them. I think if you're trying to catch up or not retake these classes, you might want to look into that. But for me, I decided like I just retake them here to see like what the difference was. And I think in particular for my CC, I think my CS courses prepared me pretty well for the data structures in 61A here. So I think I probably could have done the bridge courses also for the EE course, the 16A, but I ended up taking them anyways. I think that was still also a good choice.
And similarly for our bio and civil and mechanical engineers, you'll take MATLAB. And so some of you likely are taking it here at Berkeley if your class didn't articulate. What's that been like? What's it been like to take programming if you're taking it now at Berkeley?
I could answer this question. So what's beautiful about the curriculum here is that they really strengthen your knowledge with math, everything that you learn in community college, all the way up to differential equations or whatever the case is, depending on your major. It tailors into the programming language. And they teach MATLAB as a skill, right? So eventually, what's nice is you can look at a problem in physics or look at a problem in your dynamics class that if you're a mechanical engineering major that you'll be taking in the future. And you could code that problem as a function and you could solve any problem that is related to that, right? So it's a very good theoretical knowledge of what they provide you, but then you can apply it to whatever problems you'll be facing as an engineer in the future. So I would think MATLAB here is it's definitely challenging, but very rewarding. And also it will benefit you a lot working in the industry, doing all these numerical calculations without using a handheld calculator. You just put in the variables into MATLAB and then it works beautifully.
Great, thank you.
I want to add something
go
real
ahead.
quick.
Sorry.
Yeah. So for bio-leads, it depends. Like I know some people that have taken MATLAB once and have never needed to use it whatsoever. So it's like one of those things to where if you do want to get into the computational side, probably shouldn't even take MATLAB. You're probably taking Python, but It's there for you to like do. If you don't want to do that, don't be like, I guess, don't feel too bad if you don't understand it. So that's my 2 cents.
And just to clarify, because we had a good question, very good question from Zoe. Zoe says, if I take MATLAB at my CC, it won't transfer. Not necessarily. So all of you out there that are tuning in, assist.org, bookmark it, and check assist.org to see if assist.org, if the MATLAB class at your community college or the programming class at your community college articulates. Very, very important. I'm sure all of you used Assist quite a bit in planning for transfer. So just want to make sure that we emphasize that some schools, the MATLAB class or the CS class will transfer, but the only way to be sure is to check assist.org. In a normal setting, students will sometimes commute to campus. Nia, did you live on campus or off campus your first semester at Cal?
I'm on campus. I saw the question there. I was about to type it in, but yeah, I lived on campus, and that's also part of the reason why like I was able to come to Berkeley, was because I found housing that was relatively cheap compared to Berkeley housing. I know that even some people on this panel had a lot of trouble, a lot of stressful nights finding housing. And it's something to where you better find it before you come here. You better start making calls. You better start doing everything that you can. One suggestion, right, which is kind of where I'm living in right now, is I live in the co-ops. So basically, it's Berkeley Student Cooperative. If you go online, you can search it up. Relatively cheap housing, given the standards of, I guess, Berkeley housing prices. So if you guys are looking for, I guess, some sort of out, that's one thing that I could suggest to you. You can just look up the prices. You have to do work, but for the most part, it's a good deal.
And so it sounds like somebody on here maybe had a struggle. Would you be comfortable sharing lessons learned? Maybe what not to do when looking for housing in Berkeley.
Thanks, yeah. So here's the thing. Obviously, we're all from community college, right? And I am a student who has a dog. And I also have a significant other. And so it was not one of those things where I could just jump on the first thing I could find. So it did take me a very long time to find an appropriate place. Also coming from San Diego, getting rid of my car to be in Berkeley because it didn't make sense for me to have a car up there. Having a car almost is like a bigger pain because you have to worry about parking. So it was a pretty big transition, and so I had to find accommodations that would make sense for me and my family. And I don't have any do's or don'ts per se, but if you can, if we're back on campus and you are needing to look, I would try to say go up in person and try to find one sooner than later would be my best advice. Just and make sure you see it in person because there's a lot of scams online. So definitely don't send money. Don't be sending your information or anything like that unless you're able to actually see it in person or have it through a really reputable site. But even if it's last minute, like I found an apartment like days before the semester started. It will happen. So just keep trying.
That's an excellent point. Do not send money. Because chances are you won't get it back.
My first semester, there's some more like transfer preferential student housing, like the Martinez Commons, which you have to apply to, and the one I stayed in, which was the Unit 2 Wada apartments, where it's like an apartment style, not a dorm, and everybody in that entire building is a transfer student. So look out for stuff like that. That might be a good first option before looking for off-campus housing your following semesters.
Okay, we have a question for Stephen. This is from Nikolai Campos. Nikolai says, I'm a mechanical engineering student applying to Berkeley to transfer. Similar to yourself, I've been looking to work in multiple sectors of the engineering industry, SpaceX, Tesla, and I have a desire to minor and I have a concentration in aerospace. Wow. And later work in the aerospace. You two should connect. What opportunities and resources for research and engineering work experience have you been able to utilize at Berkeley towards your future aim of working in aerospace?
That's a perfect question. So you're going to be following my footsteps if you come to Berkeley, I would assume. So first, once I went into UC Berkeley, once I committed, I went to the faculty's website for mechanical engineering. And what's beautiful about UC Berkeley, it's an open book, right? There's no hidden information that you could walk into and you didn't know at UC Berkeley. So the faculty, and it shows their research, it shows their publications, all that stuff. So I connected with them via LinkedIn. And now, as of the moment, I was just admitted a couple weeks ago into a student-held organization, which is a club here at UC Berkeley. It's called Space Technologies at Cal. So it has to do with space, aerospace. Okay, so in regards to that, I am in a subdivision called CubeSat, and it's where what's beautiful about UC Berkeley is the funding's there. You could do a lot more at the school regarding internship opportunities, student health organizations to build up. You're basically marketing yourself so when you apply for these jobs in the future, your resume stands out compared to all the other applicants from different schools. And the best way to put it is that the amount of knowledge and stuff that you learn from these student-held organizations is definitely amazing. Like, I can't even tell you, every student in this club is like a certified genius, right? They're so intelligent. They know what they're talking about. I feel like I'm learning so much in regards to that. And what's beautiful about the school is that everybody has the same opportunity as others to apply to clubs, to apply to internships, to do research opportunities. And it's really out there because I can't even tell you how many emails I received from Tiffany regarding scholarship opportunities, internships to apply to, seminars for Micron Technologies, SpaceX, all this stuff. All that is like in your email box where you have the opportunity to just join and speak to people that are Cal alumni that work in the industry, and they could take note of you. And then you have that network to join with them in the future if you impress them. And that's the best way I could put it. There's a lot of opportunity here. And so far, regarding my aerospace background, I am in space technologies at Cal.
Fun fact, the president is a transfer student.
Yep.
Like I said, we love transfer students. How many of you have worked on any research? Has anyone done research? And if so, tell us about the research you've done.
So I could chime in. So I currently work in Dr. Mofrad's lab, and that is not strictly, but mainly a mechanical dynamics and computational biology lab. Basically, what we're kind of focusing on is just fundamentally how the cell is able to sense mechanical stimuli or structures. And not to get too much in the weeds, there's like certain pathways to where whenever you probe the cell or you put it on different types of substrate, it basically opens the door for certain genes to be expressed within the nucleus, and that's all done mechanically. And the idea in the past was that, you know, things within the cell are done chemically, but that's not completely true. While there are some things that are done chemically, purely chemically, there are actually things that are done mechanically, through mechanical stresses. It is pretty difficult, to be honest with you. I'm actually glad I took the advice of my peers when they told me not to take research my first semester, because it is a lot of work. And for the most part, your professors expect a lot from you. So it's just like they're constantly trying to push you to go to that, you know, next level. And the result of it, right, is that hopefully by the end of the year, I'll be published. I'm working on my paper for that. And I'm also going to be in a review paper. So there's like, I guess in terms of research opportunities too, going back at it, it's difficult, right? I'm not going to lie to you. It's difficult to get research opportunities, especially as a transfer. But if you bother people, which is what I did practically, somebody will eventually crack, and you can just, you know, shoot for the moon, I guess.
The squeaky wheel gets the oil. I like, right?
Yes.
So absolutely. So put yourself out there. And it's good. It's good that you all are, you know, putting yourselves out there by attending these webinars and asking questions and getting to know our current students. Because these students, you know, they were at community college as well. And so they know exactly the path. We have a question in regards to the EECS major. So at Berkeley, there's the EECS major, EECS, or the CS major. Sebastian, do you maybe want to explain to the audience like the difference between those two majors?
Particularly as a transfer student, I applied to every other school as a CS major, except for Berkeley, which also does offer CS. But the difference is if you apply to transfer as a CS major, you still have to get above a certain GPA for your undergraduate classes in order to be able to declare that major. And so that's the main reason I chose EECS instead. Also, if you look at the differences between them, there isn't that many. EECS gives you more options later, I feel, in terms of your upper division courses. And if you get into EECS, you're basically in that major. There was a question about EE in other schools versus EECS. I think the idea with EECS is that, well, you first take like 5 courses that are all like about split EE and CS for undergraduate. Then after that, you can take all EE courses in upper div or all CS courses or a mix between them. And then at the end, there's like a little extra thing on your major that says you took more, basically says you took more CS courses or you took more EE courses. I think overall it's better than what a lot of other schools offer.
Thank you. Yes, and some of the schools that you'll be applying to might be, they might call it computer engineering. So computer engineering or perhaps electrical engineering, but if you decide to come to Berkeley, you'll apply to the EECS major. Another question, for those of you that are applying and are working on your personal insight questions, I'd like to ask the panelists, what were some things that you focused on in your personal insight questions? Because remember, this is a common application that you use for all the UCs. So maybe we can have, you know, everyone just maybe talk about one thing that you focused on in your insight questions, and it might not have anything to do with engineering. So maybe something that you think stood out.
Since I just got admitted to Berkeley, I have my insight questions in the back of my head. The best way I could describe it is that your grades are there. You already inputted your transcripts and your grades. focus on yourself, focus on what makes you as a person, and focus on your experience with life, failure. Everybody fails. Nobody is perfect in this world, and what you did to overcome that failure. Focus on certain life circumstances that set you back regarding your educational goals and all that stuff. And the best way to look at it is Berkeley's so good at this. They look at you as a holistic view. They don't look at you as just a number and a GPA. They actually go, I feel like it's one of the very few schools that actually goes thorough and depth into your personal statements. And that's the best tip that I could give you guys.
Thanks, Stephen.
So I actually just pulled mine up, and I talked about tutoring. I know that basically, in terms of transfers, I think just about everybody I know was a tutor at some point. All right, maybe not Anna, but basically, practically, I'll say 92%. How's that? 92% of all of the transfer students I know have done some form of tutoring, which I found it like fascinating, and like kind of just thought, all right, maybe Berkeley likes tutors, you know, so maybe mention tutoring at some point with like in terms of leadership.
Okay, that's fair, but I have a lot of work experience. I have like 10 years under my belt plus management experience. So it's like the same thing, right? Just teaching and other things. I would definitely piggyback on what Stephen's saying and talk about, like I was really raw with my essay, right? Because it's just one shot. And I definitely focused on things that I had to overcome. I think sometimes, especially at community college, you're thinking, I know I was thinking, like, there's no way I'm going to get into a school. There's just some kids that are just breezing through these classes. And like, I was just feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to get accepted anywhere. And it's just because, you know, you have struggles, right? Like community college, like you have significant others, you have jobs, you have pets, you have children, like, you know, you have this whole other life that has already happened, and lean into that because you've already learned so much, and it's a good thing. So lean into that and showcase what you've already been through, because I think Berkeley, no matter what type of student you were in the past, will find a way to test you and push you and make you feel like you're on the brink. And you're either going to be the person that charges through and is like, I'm going to see if I get to the other end, or you're going to be the type of person that's like, ooh, that seems hard and I don't want to do that. So obviously we want the people that charge through and they're like, okay, let's give it a shot.
Were any of you involved in clubs? And if so, did you include that on your application?
I think I did. It's been like 3 years, but I think one of the things I included was I did like a programming competition while at CC and did very bad the first time. But it was kind of fun. So I decided to kind of start my own club with me and like the 2 other people that I did this programming competition that was just specifically training for programming competitions. And then we did a lot better the next year and had many more teams go. So I think maybe showing like initiative and again, like overcoming challenges. There was also like a personal challenge I think I put in there that didn't have to do with school, that I might have shown something more about myself.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about the housing options for those with families. So the University Village certainly is an option. I know many of our transfer students have taken advantage of the University Village, particularly if you have housing, if you have families, small children. Do any of you live in university housing? If not, it's okay. but maybe some of the things that you've seen and resources for students that are families.
So since my significant other and I aren't married, we didn't qualify for the family housing. So I don't actually don't live there, didn't live there, I guess either or. But because I'm an older transfer student with family and everything like that, you know, I obviously networked and got to know other people that are in similar situations to me. And one of my good friends actually got to the family housing, and he really likes it. It's really nice. It's great. He is very independent, so he drives to school. But I think that there is shuttles that will take you to the school. Obviously, you have to do that on your own time schedule. I know, I think I read it in the chat. Somebody has a couple kids. So for that situation, right, like it would almost be better to drive just in case emergencies happen and you do need to leave. That's always an option, and you're not just feeling like you have to wait on a shuttle. So there's always plenty of options. There's a lot of good resources, and just because I didn't qualify for that one doesn't mean that I didn't have sources or resources outside of that. And I think a really nice thing is a plug for T-Prep, if we're going to go there, Tiffany. T-Prep is for transfer students for the engineering field, and that's when I was introduced to most of my friends, and that's where I found other people who have families, and it's nice to have a resource and other people to talk to that are in similar situations, and just feeling like you're building a community in that sense, because I know plenty of people who have young kids, and just feeling like you're not alone in that aspect is really nice.
And the University Village is actually in a little town called Albany, which is like right next door to Berkeley. So if you're like, hey, this Albany place keeps popping up, that's the right one. And we did put it in the chat, so you have the link. Question for the group is, did any of you feel a big change, transitioning from Berkeley or to Berkeley from community college? And if so, how did you deal with that change?
I could speak on behalf of this question. The biggest thing that I've noticed is that here at UC Berkeley, you have a lot larger classes, so a lot more competition, and everybody around you is just as driven as you are, which is certainly amazing. So it's very competitive. And what I could say the best thing is that the professors give you the material, and you're expected to excel with minimal interaction with them, if that makes sense. Because in community college with smaller classes and stuff like that, you could do you could have a very good relationship with your professors. That's why I always recommend with networking. Before I even enrolled in these classes, the professors knew me by name, because I connected with them on LinkedIn. I did everything like that, and it's a very good strategy to implement. And also, if you want to get a high GPA anywhere at community college at UC Berkeley, you have to plan out your semesters effectively, not take like 3 of the roughest classes all in one semester. Also, look into the professors' ratings, right? Because like no matter where you go, you might not learn from a professor's learning style, and you might have to teach yourself a lot. So you need to strategize and implement that in case you want to go to graduate school, or unless you want to have a really competitive GPA. So it's really good to strategize into that.
That's a great point, and I think that we have a question that really kind of ties into what you said. Is how do the rigor of Berkeley classes compare to community college classes? And I think probably the main thing is that these are, it's a theory based, right? So for those of you that are, wondering, what does she mean by theory-based? Does someone want to maybe explain what we mean but when we say they're theory-based? Because I happen to know that a really great school in San Luis Obispo sometimes will say, well, it's all theory-based, you won't get hands-on experience. Not true, you will get hands-on experience when we're on campus, that is. But what does theory-based mean?
I have a great example of this really fast.
Sure.
I know numerous amounts of students that go to Cal Poly Flow, and they really focus on their labs and the application, right? Here at Berkeley, we do have some labs that is, for example, I'm taking the electronics of the Internet of Things course, and we have to build integrated circuits and build speaker systems and build IoT applications, which is very applicable. So they teach us the theoretical knowledge, and then we apply it into the labs. It's not like it's all based on theory, and then once you go into the industry, you don't know what to do, because I feel like Berkeley really does prepare you for you to be in the industry and excel at whatever you do.
I don't know if that applies to like most of the CS courses I've taken. Maybe that's just me. Like every course I've taken, there's theory, but we also have like projects and labs and homework. So maybe there was like an algorithms course where we did proofs and everything on paper, but we did have a project. That was the only CS course that was kind of didn't have too many assignments that I took. And then also, Stephen mentioned something about not taking the 3 hardest courses at one time. I did that my second semester. Maybe you're familiar with the discrete math CS70, 16A was like the second semester EE course, and 61B all at the same time. And that forced me to come up with a way to manage my time so that I could use it most efficiently. It was like 12 to 16 hours a day for multiple weeks on end, where I would never do anything like that at CC, or don't even have like, I guess, the means or the skills to set that up. I kind of had to like force myself to learn how to do that in a very short period of time. And then I got very burnt out.
So you probably hear students talking a lot about managing their time. And I think that that's something that, what successful engineers will maximize their time and manage their time. And those of you that are calling in and are at community college, I'm pretty sure that many of you perhaps do attend more than one community college. So if that's the case and you do, attend more than one community college, that actually is not going to look bad. It's not going to look bad at all. It's actually going to show that, oh, here's a student that's, eager to get all their courses, Now, I realize that because, you're not like going from school to school physically, perhaps though, that you're doing it remotely. And on the subject of remote, we have a question. Is everything really online for engineering? It is. So how do we get hands-on experience if it's online?
I think with 16B, the second semester E course, there's like a project where you work with a microcontroller. I believe they got sent little microcontrollers in the mail, like a little kit. I'm not sure how the labs are going, but I think the ones that do, at least for the lower division, they are trying to like stay or keep some sort of physical aspect to it.
So you get kits online shipped for certain classes. Has anyone been back on campus this semester?
Real quick, Tiffany, about the hands-on experience. So also in regards to research, I haven't told you yet, but what Mia was saying, when you go and talk to your professors and you're looking for research opportunities, I was traveling down this path, like I was mentioning before, that I really wanted to work abroad. and I was really running into dead ends over and over again. And I finally found a professor that worked previously in something I was very interested in. So it just turns out that he connected me to a different UC Berkeley professor, and I was so excited to talk to him and just pick his brain just during his office hours. And he offered me a research position for this upcoming spring. And I'm so happy, grateful. And so I was like, well, what is that going to look like if we're not back in campus? Because to be honest, I'd rather stay here in San Diego and save money if I'm able to. And he was like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. We can work something out, and I can just have you do some online modules, because, you know, for your classes, you still have to do a lot of analysis. It's still a lot of, you know, paper, computer, book work, and everything like that. So unfortunately, I know that we don't get that actual hands-on, but there's still a lot of things that you can do, you know, to help do research and all that kind of stuff virtually. So we're really just making the best of the situation, and there's still opportunities out there.
Absolutely. There's, you know, we had a number of students do internships, remote internships this past summer. The prep and T-prep program was 100% online. I think students got the same experience, or at least the same takeaways that they would have gotten had it been in person. So do not let, you know, this virtual experience you know, discourage you from doing research or projects. You have to work on projects. That's one thing you will notice as a Berkeley engineer. You have to work with other people. So a tip I would say is, when you're preparing your applications, maybe talk about how you've worked with other people, because you could have a 4.0 GPA, but if you're somebody who hasn't worked with other people, that's not what we want. We want someone who's you know, academically inclined, but also has that experience of working with others. And that could be tutoring, that could be study groups, that could be projects, could be a lot of things. We have we're kind of running short on time, but I want to make sure that we get to all these questions. A question is, what advice or personal experiences that maybe folks want to share about adjusting to the rigorous curriculum? I mean, it sounds like the you know, pace of the classes and just the workload is so much more than what students encounter at the community college. So maybe some advice that has helped you be successful.
Don't take 20 units.
Don't take 20 units.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't take 20 units.
That is beautiful advice.
And
Yeah.
also, a really good skill to have is know how to find answers on Google. Know how to look at problems, be like, oh, I have no idea. Go on Google and learn how to research to learn those problems. That's the most useful skill that I could tell you, especially since it's online. It may be hard for you to build a transfer community of students where you can all collaborate and work on problem sets together and doing this all together. But what's nice about it is T-Prep, Tiffany hosts a transfer pre-engineering program over summer that connects you with numerous amounts of transfer students that will just be in the same level that you are, right? So you get really good at working together as a team to survive through these classes, because the rigor is there, the challenge is there, and it's the most rewarding thing once you walk into a class and you receive the grade that you did. And you're like, I actually did that. I survived at one of the top engineering schools in the world, number 2 in the nation compared to the public school private school MIT, so, and Stanford. So that's definitely very rewarding.
And just want to, we don't want TMZ to say, oh, what? Get the answers from Google. That's not what he said. He said how to answer the questions. Very important distinction, right? How to answer the questions. So the reason why our Berkeley students do so amazing on technical interviews, you know, I'm sure you've heard these crazy technical interviews that all the, you know, companies ask. And Stephen hit the nail on the head. It's because our students know how to walk folks through a problem, right? So knowing how to walk through a problem and knowing how to show people how you came up with the solution to that problem, that's basically all a technical interview is. And I think Berkeley really trains our students well on how to do that. We have about 5 minutes. Question, how is engineering physics? What advantages over physics? I would probably say that it is an applied major, right? It's kind of the best of both worlds. It's physics, but it's also an applied major. That would be a good way. I think we are about to wrap up. So does anyone want to leave any words of wisdom or any question that you saw in the chat that you want to answer? Just make sure you read out the question.
I don't see any in particular, but do T-Prep. Also, don't take 3 technicals in 1 semester. And if maybe you're, for some reason, you're finding it a little bit easier right now in CC and you're doing well, don't carry that over to Berkeley because it will be harder. It seems like the students who struggled a bit to do well or struggled to do well in CC might be better prepared than the ones that maybe took it easier in CC. There's like a transition period where it just becomes hard for everybody. And then if you struggled a bit in CC, you will have the tools to succeed in Berkeley. At least that's my perspective.
That's great advice. With that,
Wait, real quick. I saw this question a lot in the chat talking about when to apply for internships. Apply right now, don't wait. Basically, you have all the skills needed if you're in CC to get an internship because everybody applying around the country is at the same level that you're at right now if you're thinking about Berkeley. So go ahead and apply. I applied to an internship while I was in CC and I got it. So I'm pretty sure you guys are more than capable of getting accepted.
absolutely. There are a lot of opportunities,
My closing thoughts are take this first semester to settle in. Like I was totally that community college student that took 5 classes and worked. Take the first semester just doing school. I know that it's really weird thinking about not working for some of you. Just really get your bearings. And my second piece of advice is to talk to other transfer students in your major. They will give you the best advice about what classes to take together and what not to take together. That is going to be godsend.
Best tip of advice that I could say was I had a below average GPA compared to the admit rate here at Berkeley for mechanical engineering. It's a 0.2 below the average. And what made me different than others was I was working 2 jobs. I was taking all these classes. My second semester at community college, that's when I had my lowest GPA. I got a 2.75 that semester. And that was because that was the first time I ever worked in my life and they were overworking with me and I was not really focusing on school and it was a rough time in my life. But Berkeley understands that, right? And don't feel discouraged to applying to one of the top universities in the world because what makes you different than the 4.0 students is that you have so much experience under your belt and so much communication skills, so much great skills that are a lot more important than academics at the moment. And once I received admission to Berkeley, my heart dropped, right? So I would have to tell you that even though you got a C in one of your major classes like math or physics or whatever the case is, don't feel discouraged to apply to Berkeley because I'm telling you, they actually care more about who you are as a person. GPA is a factor for sure, but if you could show them that you still overcame adversities, that's the biggest thing that you could go off of in that application.
Awesome. Thank you all. I think that was from each of you absolutely perfect advice to end on. And I'm sorry that we didn't get to all of our questions. If you have a pressing question that I can help you with, I have put my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out and I will do my best to help you. I want to really thank Tiffany and our panelists for volunteering their time and wisdom today. I think it's made it very clear why these folks were admitted to Berkeley and invited to be on this panel and why we love our engineering transfer students so much. So thank you all for your time and for giving back. We will see all of our attendees hopefully at 4 p.m. on Thursday when Tiffany and I will be talking about how to find research internships as a community college student. A great way to build your application for transfer, right? If you're not applying this fall, you've got a summer to fill with an internship maybe. And in the meantime, I hope you all have a really great evening and a happy transfer week.